Even if the law protects someone from deportation, there is no guarantee today that ICE will abide by the law. Immigration attorneys are urging immigrants to exercise caution in traveling abroad right now. Are they at that table? Investigation, reduce spending. We don't really have a problem with it. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio visited Jamaica last week and said this.
If you're a green card holder, you're legally in the United States, unless, and I say this because a lot of these people come, unless you're some student visa holder who's a sympathizer of some terrorist organization and is running around in our streets like a lunatic, burning down buildings and attacking students at universities. If you're one of these lunatics that's going to put on a mask over your face and break into a student union center and harass students, and we wouldn't have let you in the first place. If you had told us that, if you told us, I'm going to America not just to study at your university, but to tear up your campus, we would have never let you in. And if you do that, once you come into the United States, we're going to kick you out. We're going to do that.
Now, I know the first thing that some of you will say is that I didn't do any of that, so he isn't talking to me. You're very delusional. You're very delusional if you think that this wall actually exists where they are making the distinction between those who are out in the streets protesting and those who they think don't fit the model of who they want the perfect immigrant to be. Now, let's be clear. Immigrants have always been the scapegoat in this country, and the deportation of immigrants, even the legal ones, is something that has happened under every administration. It's just that this administration is more vocal and perhaps a little bit more forceful in the way that they're going about it. But this is not something that's new. What is new is that things in the past that would not have landed you in the custody of ICE is now happening. Your political speech, for example, your activism, for example, whatever the administration deems in the splint of a moment is unlawful, suddenly lands you within the crosshairs of Border Patrol or ICE officers. And suddenly you find yourself in detention and having to, defend yourself against deportation. Now, Jamaicans have a funny relationship with immigration because a lot of us just listen to a lot of us talk about immigration. It's like we support tough immigration policies for other people, but not ourselves. It's like someone fooling ourselves to believe that when they start to crack down on immigrants, somehow you will be safe. You won't. In case you haven't noticed, a lot of the people with papers have been caught up in the dragnet. People who really didn't do anything wrong, or perhaps when they were teenagers, they got caught on some minor charge, and now after years of reforming themselves and years of contributing positively to the society, are suddenly finding themselves in an immigration proceeding. I know someone love to celebrate when you see these things happen to people, but let me tell you again that you are not safe. And I am not a lawyer, but I'm going to tell you what the legal experts are saying to show you that none of us are safe. According to this PBS article, people with lawful permanent residence or a green card can be deported from the US, but they first have the right to plead their case in court. Only an immigration judge has the power to revoke a green card, and there are several reasons green card holders could be eligible for deportation, including criminal convictions such as rape, murder, or drug trafficking. The government can also deport permanent residents if they commit immigration fraud. Now, for a green card holder, the U.S. government must first serve a notice to appear, which is a charging document for immigration cases. In it, the government lists the reasons it believes the person is deportable. And this is an immigration law professor, Jacqueline Kelly Widmer from Cornell University, who is saying this. She says once a person receives a charging document, an immigration court case is initiated. In court, the U.S. government has the burden of proof and must show clear and convincing evidence, more likely to be true than untrue, that the person can be deported. But Rebecca Sharpless of the University of Miami's Immigration Clinic says, even if the law protects someone from deportation, there is no guarantee today that ICE will abide by the law. People should make choices about things like travel with this reality in mind. Now, they pointed out in the article that immigration agents can't revoke legal permanent status. Only immigration judges can do so after a court proceeding. However, we have seen in the past couple of weeks that the law is almost irrelevant. And there is not much evidence that the law is being followed in the way it should. In another article on Vox.com, they recommended that legal non-citizens consider carrying identification documents. It said legal non-citizen immigrants have long been legally required to carry their immigration papers at all times. However, the penalties for failing to do so are becoming higher under Trump. In April, the Trump administration is expected to increase the associated fines from $100 to $5,000. Failing to possess documentation is a misdemeanor, but that could now land an immigrant in detention and deportation proceedings. Walk with your green card. Trump revoked the Biden administration's immigration enforcement priorities so that even people charged with non-violent minor crimes can now be deported. Additionally, the Trump administration will start requiring all non-citizens to register with the federal government and designate those who fail to do so as a priority for immigration enforcement. Many non-citizens who have had previous contact with the federal government, whether because they applied for certain immigration benefits or were issued a notice to appear in immigration court, are already considered registered under the new policy. I don't know what that means. You have to ask a lawyer. I don't know if it means, whether you have applied for any kind of citizenship, whether you have applied for, for example, unemployment benefits or something. I don't know what that means. If the federal government already has your information, you don't need to register. But if they do, then if they don't, then you need to register. So consult an attorney if you're unsure. Anyway, they say reconsider international travel. Immigration attorneys are urging immigrants to exercise caution in traveling abroad right now. Immigrants should consider whether their country of origin or where they are planning to travel may be on the list of countries that could be subjected to travel bans. They should also weigh their own history of activism and whether that could make them a target upon re-entry to the U.S. Important. If you must travel, consider leaving your personal electronic devices at home. Border officials can, and recently have, requested access to immigrants' devices, including their cell phones. Refusing to grant them access might give them grounds to deny entry on the basis that they have insufficient information to determine if an immigrant is admissible to the U.S. Again, these are all things that have been happening. What is taking place now in the past couple of weeks is that the Trump administration has stepped up. I know a lot of you are gleeful because you were promised that they were going to go after the criminals and they were going to deport all the bad immigrants. But there's no red line. There is no bad immigrant and good immigrant, and if a lot of us weren't so bigoted within our own selves and did not have this prejudice towards other people, we would recognize that an immigrant is an immigrant. And at the end of the day, people who have these prejudices against immigrants have no delineation between who is legal, who is illegal, who is a good immigrant, who is a bad immigrant. That doesn't exist for them, right? It's the same way people who are racist towards black people, they have no delineation about a good black person or a bad black person. They may say so, but in reality, they don't. And that's why if we don't learn how to be in solidarity with all peoples, this is what happens. This is what happens because people can prey on our prejudices. And I say that as a Jamaican who have heard many Jamaicans Jamaican immigrants express certain prejudices against other immigrants. I may tell you, say, you feel like you're safe, but you are not. And regardless of what the Secretary of State said in a public forum, because he was on a diplomatic mission and he said the diplomatic thing, at the end of the day, none of us are safe. Anyway, I'm not here to preach. I'm only saying consult an attorney if you're unsure of what, these new moves and these new rules and, these new actions have on your status. Consult an attorney and make sure that, everything for you is in order. And I would say be on your guard and make decisions that will protect your safety and well-being. And most importantly, not trust nobody.